All right, here we're back here. And guys, you know what time it is, where we talk about our favorite scenes of the film. And for me, I had to narrow this down from 90 down to 3, but hey, somebody had to do it, so why not, therefore, and me. Now, one of the first scenes that I really did like about the film, it happens at the beginning, is again the judges game. Because to me, there's so many things going on. When he first walked in, he says, in this room of brilliant minds, there's not one true card player in here. So he's already letting you know you can be educated, you can be book smart. Doesn't mean you're going to be a great poker player. You have to have a different mindset to play this game. And so he's sitting here with people with double PhDs and all type of letters that we don't even know that they have. People that can start or end his career. But within 30 seconds of him being in that room, he shows them, not only do I not, I learned everything. It's the psychological standpoint of the game. That's where they really show you about people's tales. He only saw one person's card, and the person's cards he saw had a busted straight. But he looked around that room and was able to point out everything everybody had, and they were all like, "Get the out of here!" Like, hey, guy, your first assignment, come pull up a chair next to me. Oh, I don't play cards. So that was one of my top scenes right there. Did I take that from you?
When he delivers the papers to the judges. Yeah, that's probably municipal. Yeah, no, I would say that's like my number 2 scene for sure. That because that is when Matt Damon is at his greatest, when he's being a smart ass and like proving to a group of people he's a smart ass. And this is like fresh off of Good Will Hunting again with the how do you like them apples? That was his how do you like them apples moment when what did he bet for a clerkship with one of the judges, ended up proving him wrong.
Speaking of that, though, that was the callback scene. Remember when he finds Worm later on in the film? He said, "Hey, man, I thought you were the janitor." Yeah, that was the Good Will Hunting callback. I thought you were the janitor. That's what I do, man. I do this. Okay, I'll go again. All right, so to me, one of my other favorite scenes was Worm trying to wiggle out of the bathroom. When Grandma first confronts him in the strip club, their dialogue for like the first 90 seconds is that of epicness because there's a backstory there. Grandma used to run with Worm, and he used to be like, he's like, "Hey, man, you were my partner." He was like, "I was your lackey." He's letting me know, like, you shit on me for so long. And so he was like, he was like, "Hey, man, I went out on my own, and guess what I'm thinking?" He was like, "Oh, you're thinking now? That's good." So notice, when he throws this motherfucker in the bathroom, he's like, "All right, now here's what I'm thinking." Like he's still, like that verbal jab you got out there. He was like, "Instead of you owing 15,000 to 5 guys, you owe 25 large to me." He was like, and that's the first time you see Worm like take a like somebody like the IRS just came to get him. He was like, "Man, what the f do you get off?" He like, "What the f do I get off?" He was like, where'd you even get that money to buy up that type of scratch? You've been rolling in the village again, and then like he backhands him, and even to me that bathroom scene encompasses what Worm was. There's pouring all over the background. There's a guy getting a blowjob soon as they walk in there, and then Grandma, who makes his money off prostitution and gambling, is like, "Man, get the fuck out of here! Come on, get the fuck out! Don't zip it up! Get the fuck out of here!" And he's trying to tell him like, "You're the first person that just got fucked in the bathroom, and I didn't take my dick out." That's why that's a beautiful scene.
This isn't one of my scenes, but it does remind me of that when they come back to bargain with him, and he, like in most scenes like that, the antagonist would have like beat the shit out of a human being to show their strength or what they're going to do to, like, as a threat. He beats the shit out of his dog.
Oh yeah, you got to catch him in the
act. He's so low level. All right, my number. This is my number 1 scene. When Worm beats the guys in prison. This was like there was like at least 3 punchlines in this. So he's playing them for their smokes. He takes their smokes. So first you find out he's leaving. He's getting out right then. He's like, "You play me tomorrow. You win them back tomorrow." No, they can't. He's about to get out. They realize that. They're like, you can go get a pack of cigarettes anywhere. Just, give them to. You're being an asshole. That right there lets you know that he is all about the principles of the game. He doesn't give a shit about. He doesn't care. It's not about being able to go out and get his own cigarettes. It's about the fact that he won those from them. They lost. They don't have their cigarettes anymore. And then the punchline, "You don't even smoke." That was, that was awesome.
But what makes that scene beautiful is when he gets in the car later on with Matt Damon's character, Mike McDermott, and he says, "Man, it's like 2 different economies in there. There's trade and there's cash. I gotta skim enough cash off the guards to lose it to the white guys to get protection, but then I got to trim enough smokes to keep me accustomed to the lifestyle I'm accustomed to. Like, he's letting you know, like, all this is happening. But I do, that was on my honorable mention list. But what my number one scene really had nothing to do with cars, it had more so to do with life, is when he's with Martin Landau, and when he comes to meet him for a drink, and he was like, hey, what are you drinking? He was like, gin. Always gin, showing he's from a different era. And he was saying that he's a judge. He's always had a passion for law. But he was a child prodigy to be like a prophet or a rabbi or something of that nature. And so he basically got ousted from his village. And he left to go do something. His family, like he disgraced his family by going to do it. And he basically tells Mike McDermott, Matt Damon's character, and because Mike asked him, he's basically telling him, when he first started that conversation, he was like, that was an impressive trick you pulled with the cards. And Matt Damon was like, oh man, thank you. He was like, but that was altogether different trick you pulled by missing mute court. And he was like, well, I apologize. He's like, you ain't got to apologize. You just got to work harder. And that's when he sat there and looked at me like, well, let me tell you this story about me supposed to be in a rabbi. At the end of that story, Matt Damon says to him, he says, well, let me ask you this. If you could do it all over again, would you make the same choice? And he looks up and says, what choice? To me, that was the essence of him saying, like, dude, you got to be who you're going to be regardless. What everybody else is saying, what you should do and you can do. If you innately believe it in your heart, no one should take that from you. And that's why I say this is not a poker film. This is film that has poker aspect, but it talks about life. What did you hear me say earlier in the opening? The reason why I resonate with this film so much is because, to me, poker is that ultimate game, just like chess, to where there are life aspects happening, to where no matter what two cards you give me, I'm going to be a winner regardless.
Yeah.
I determine the rules.
Yeah, there's another time when Mike talks about how it's not really a choice, where he's like, I know I shouldn't be here, but sometimes reasons don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he went back. Yeah. So that's one thing. One last honorable mention before, because I know we're wrapping up honorable mentions on the scenes. You mentioned it, but you didn't bring it back up, is when he says he comes to KGB's establishment like 12 hours before owing this motherfucker this money. And he was like, I'm looking for a game. He was like, don't you owe me money? He was like, that's my money until tomorrow. Okay, let's go. And what did you say? Like, as a person that you owe me that money, like, I want you to go more in halt, but now I just want the money now. But he says that's how much that they both were into poker, that he was willing to risk. Like, this dude really got money. They gambled for it.
He was all for the gamble. That scene, that's one of our honorable mentions, of course, that whole scene. But what sold it was at the very end, when KGB says, he beat me straight up, pay that man his money. Pay him that man his money. After he was over there doing the little. That was after me, like, I was up and down in that scene. So I was like, walk away. No,
and see, he understands this. You know why he didn't walk away is because of what he said at the beginning of the film. After he plays them, they play heads up twice. He wins the first time, and he says, I can leave now, paying back Landau's character all his money and having $5,000 and only owing somebody. He was basically would have been only down $5,000. He gets up and walks away, and then he says something. But again, same thing he called back to the beginning of the movie. If you're too careful, your whole life could be a grind. He went from owing $5,000 to up like $35,000 in like 2.5-3 hours. All when he caught his tail. But we'll talk about tails later.
I call that luck.
Get the fuck off the show. Jesus Christ.
You have another scene, or is that your last?
Yes, but we're about to make one. It's called David Leaves the Show, because he just called it luck, and I'm trying to break down the algorithms within the numerical structure of a confine of inertia that you can't seem to understand.
At the end of the day, it is cards that are being placed in your hand. So just like in life, yeah, you can use a certain amount of skill to do the best that you can with the luck or the hand that you've been given, but at the end of the day, there are reasons why people that are putting forth the same exact effort as we are in a completely different position, whether it be better or worse. It is not all skill. And when somebody is handing you a card, that is the most condensed version of there is a certain amount of luck at play.
You have a computer, I have a computer, person C has a computer. We can all make different things. And that's the message.
My number one scene, not my number one scene, but definitely in the top 3, is the municipal game. One, when they get up there, they're like, come pick me up in 8 hours. Like, that, I know that is all right with you. Like, you're like, yeah, sure, 8 hours, normal game. I'm like, I've never fucking played an 8-hour game. I've never done anything except for editing. Go into you don't even know if you're welcome there. Pick me up in 8 hours.
You get paid to edit, right?
Yeah.
I get paid to play poker.
All right.
What are we talking about? Hello?
What I do like about that scene, though, is when, like, he makes it abundantly clear, do not f***ing go in there. It's either me or it's you. It's not both of us. He's sitting there, everything is going so good, and they set it up like you could just, there's something about the tone when they set a scene up like that where everything's going too good, you know, like, all right, this isn't the movie.
Hey man, I met this guy down at the bowling alley.
And my face did exactly what Matt Damon's face does in that moment, like, and it hung on his face where he's just like, this is all about to be like, I had it in the bag, now I don't know.
Oh, he knew.
And it was definitely...
He knew, because I'm going to let Mike call this line out. Mike, yell this from the background. What's the phrase we always say when we think somebody's cheating or they're doing something? Hey, Sarge.
He's base dealing.
Son of a bitch is base. Hey, Sarge, I caught a hanger. What?
Hey, man, don't get agitated.
And he says that to him like, aren't you guys supposed to just read us our rights or something? Like, don't get agitated. Y'all you boys working?
Yeah, that scene, that was great.
I've never seen a white man get called a boy and felt like it was a slave movie. That's the first time I felt ever. He was like, you boys working? No, sons. We's not working together. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, very good scene.
Very good choice, man. Great choice.
Find us in all these links. It's coming up right now.
That's the trailer.